what is your advice for how English students can think like literary critics and develop their own questions and ideas about the text?
Mm-hmm. I think part of it is getting past the need to simply receive a high grade and be validated for your act and then move on to the next thing. I think it takes some patience and some care, but I also think it takes a willingness to engage seriously with some of the, not just the content that literary critics and literary scholars are obsessed with, but the kind of method, the way in which interesting literary scholars ask questions and interrogate assumptions. If students open themselves up to these new ways of thinking about texts and about other things that they're investigating, and they pay attention not just to what their professors know, but how it is their professors go about knowing what they know. And if they watch closely, I mean, what they'll find is that their most interesting professors and the most interesting scholars in the field are those that ask interesting questions that ordinary folks just don't think to ask. But it takes a lot of effort, and it also takes some humility, because the more knowledge you have, the better about yourself you can feel. But what you realize is that this process is not about the acquisition of knowledge. It's about the production of knowledge, and to produce knowledge that requires a certain amount of interesting interrogation that takes place. And that only happens under some guidance and some mentorship, and reading the right books, reading the right scholars who themselves ask interesting questions. And it takes a lot of hard work. So there's a choice between settling for the BS paper, which requires nothing. It's zero in terms of the energy it requires and what it gives to the world. And then there's the other kind of activity that's really humbling and requires a ton of energy, but I think the results are, you can really tell the difference when you see them side by side. So what I did was I spent as much time with my professors as possible. I let them read my work. I figured out every context is organized around certain methodologies and certain questions and I just took some time to figure out what those were, and that's an invaluable thing. So now I think I do a better job myself when I engage a text or anything, whether it's a television show or a film or some political address. I do a better job of examining the assumptions and the things that are implicit, and the things that are unstated. I'm more successful at interrogating those things because I now have a sort of approach to that, a methodology that I didn't have when I was an undergraduate. And I think it can be a really valuable thing.